Hey Ryan, Tyrek Smith was playing, I think by everyone's estimation, probably the best football of his career late last season. It seems like things have just kind of been getting in the way of him ever since that. Just how do you sort of assess what he could bring to this defense when you look at the potential that's here for the rest of the year?
Yeah, well, the potential's always been there, and he's had a few things, few injuries that have sidelined him this season. So hoping that as we head into the second half of the season, that his best football is ahead of him, because he's veteran, and it's important our veteran guys play that way. We're going to win some of these big games, and I know he's working towards that, and he's a very important part of our defense.
We'll go next to Jared Smalley, WCMH.
Hi, Ryan. A question about, obviously, every team in America wants to start a game quickly, and you all clearly have done that in the last month and a half or so. And I'm wondering two things: the emphasis that you as a staff put on the beginning, the first 2-3 series of a game, establishing that command of a game, and then do you go about scripting plays? Do you have sort of a formulated plan, whether you stick to it exactly or not, but do you have some kind of a plan you want to go off of to get you started in your game?
I mean, we talk about starting fast all the time. I think it's important to set the tone for the game, but we have a plan in place for when that doesn't happen. Typically the game goes one of three ways. You jump out ahead, you fall behind, or it's kind of back and forth. And you have to have a plan in place for one of those things happen. Certainly, we want to jump ahead. That's part of it. When it comes to preparing for a game, we have opening thoughts that we like, but we don't get nailed down with a script of these exact plays, because things change quickly. You might have a good script in hand, but you start the ball on your own 2-yard line, or maybe you start in the red zone, or second play, 2nd and 12. You don't know what's coming. So you certainly have general thoughts you like, and you work on those as you head into the game. But we try not to get pinned down on an exact script.
All righty, we'll go next to Bill Landis from The Athletic.
Ryan, it seems like CJ has a particularly strong rapport with Jackson, and I know those guys probably got a lot of work together last year, kind of being on the second team. Like, how have you seen that develop over time, and how much do you think it does help both of them that they did get so much experience together last season?
I don't know. I think CJ's that way with a lot of our receivers. I think that they found a good rhythm together, and they've worked really hard this summer. They worked hard in the spring, but certainly in the summer and in the preseason, and now during the season to get those things right. I see him staying after with the receivers and working on specific routes that are specific to that week's game plan. And I think overall he's done a good job with all the receivers in that area.
All righty, next we'll go to Austin Ward, Letterman Row.
Ryan, when somebody makes a play like Marvin Harrison's spin there in that second half, how many times would you replay that for the rest of the team to enjoy it? And what does a play like that do for a young player's confidence?
Well, I think, anytime you get young guys out there who are working hard in practice, contributing on special teams, who then actually get out there and start to make plays. The play that I would show more than that would be the one we caught over the middle where he got whacked. I mean, that was a tough play, and he hung on to the ball because the spin plays and the big plays and those type of plays happen because of their God-given ability. But it's the toughness plays that we see and we recognize, because those are the ones that are going to allow us to play in some of these tougher games. And they just project into being a good player. But have been impressed with his practice habits, the way he's helping on special teams, and it was good to see him make some plays because, I got a feeling he's going to help us here the second half of the season.
All right, we'll go next to Clay Hall, WSYX.
All right, Ryan, as I said to you the other night about beating a heavyweight weight, it's just like it's a new proving ground. The 5 wins, none of those teams are real dominant teams. Does it feel like the season starts now, or at least another phase of the season starts now?
I don't know. It's one game at a time, like you said, because if you're looking at it like a heavyweight fighter, like you said, you mess around one round and you get knocked out. So we can't look at it that way. We have to just show up every single game. It doesn't matter who we're playing. Penn State's a very good defense and will be a very big challenge for us, and we know that. And so it's most likely not going to play out the way that the last few games have played out, or play out like any game that's happened before. We know that and understand that and have to adapt for whatever that means. But the focus just has to be on right now, and that means having great meetings this afternoon, having a really good Thursday practice, and then a great Friday walkthrough, and then being a competitive excellent Saturday night. And it goes back to the fundamentals and having the discipline to stay locked in, to maintain our confidence, but be disciplined enough and stay humble enough to understand that all it takes is one Saturday. And again, like, your season can be ruined. And that's something we always talk about, and we stay locked in on, and that takes discipline.
Friday, next up, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
I think you're on mute, Bill.
There we go. How about now?
Good.
Sorry. Paris Johnson's obviously a big part of the offensive line success. How well is he playing? And what just generally stands out to you about him, either as a player or just a guy?
Well, I think he made the transition from tackle to guard. And I was very impressed with that. First off, just his willingness to jump inside and say, I want to get on the field, not saying, well, I can only play tackle. First off, that really helps with his versatility moving forward, but it just shows you what type of teammate and leader he is. And I think he's learned very quickly. His feet are moving well. He's understanding the calls. He plays very, very hard. And so, as we play some of these, really good defensive lines, as we're about to do, those guys are going to get challenged more and more, and they're going to have to work through, the good plays and the bad plays. But as a whole, the offensive line, I think, has come together with some chemistry. I know that, Coach Stud wants them to play tough, and in Paris has done that so far.
Friday, next, we'll go to Jeremy Birmingham, Leonard Monroe.
Hey, Ryan, obviously there's a number of calculated risks you guys take by bringing in a ton of official visitors in the first week of the visit period that we had in June. Some of that in the secondary specifically was that you were putting together a presentation of theory, basically, of how the defense is going to run with 3 safeties and that kind of stuff. Now, having a chance to have some of those kids returning, how important is it just for you as a program that the plan that you put in place is now visible to these kids, and that you can sort of mitigate some of the damage maybe that happened in the first couple of weeks of the season from other teams exploiting what looked to be a problem?
Yeah, no, I think there's 2 things, for recruits that I know that they're excited about. They're seeing that style of defense and what it can do, and how effective it can be. I think you're also seeing that, we'll play young players, and that if you're a young player who wants to play in this style of defense, at the highest level, if you're ready, we'll put you in there. And then we'll also develop you too. There's some guys that, it takes a year or 2 to get on the field, and that's okay too. So the best players are going to play. So I think they really appreciate that part of it and see the confidence that we're playing with. But I going back to your first point about, having a bunch of guys in June and early on in the official visit process, what that really allowed us to do was to gather information that we would typically get when we were in the schools. And it's been a long time since we had been in the schools. And so we hadn't met most of these people in person. So it was great to get them here. Very unique year because of that. When we were very aggressive early on to learn about what the right fit is, because now more than ever in recruiting, it's the right fit, for a lot of reasons. Certainly, that was a great opportunity for us to learn about a lot of these guys. So getting them back now is great because you're building that process. And that's something that would have happened naturally if, it wasn't for the pandemic. We would have had guys on campus more and more. You would have learned and built those relationships, which I think we're doing now. And I feel much more comfortable about the class than I did, 6 months ago.
Thanks. Next up, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Hey, Ryan, I wanted to ask you, I saw, some of the guys were, at the Crew game last night. Some of the guys were at the Blue Jackets game earlier this week. It seems like it's been a pretty big week in general for guys in terms of, NIL opportunities that might come their way. Just curious, how do you approach that with the guys in terms of, encouraging them to take advantage of opportunities that might be good for them, but also, understanding if this is a really big game week?
Yeah, well, it's just managing your time like anything else, and understanding that you have to get your rest and keeping things and prioritized, and that's what discipline is, and that's part of this process, and it's the maturing process, and they're being provided opportunities that we never had at this age, that any college athletes have ever had, And so, there's a learning part of this and managing time and, prioritizing again, where you're at with all of your time. Great learning experiences in that area. But yeah, I think we're all learning from it, and our guys are doing a good job of it.
All right, got time for two more. We'll go first to Zach Carpenter from Letterman Row. Zach.
Hey, Ryan. A lot of the stuff you were talking about with Berm was what I was going to ask, but going back to that first big official visits weekend in June, how important was that in sort of building this class and kind of going further? You had basically all the commits in the 2022 class on campus that weekend. How important was it for you guys to put a lot of focus on them that first opportunity that rolled around to have them in for official visits?
Yeah, it was very important. The guys who decided that they wanted to be Buckeyes early on, we wanted to prioritize them and have them on campus, that first weekend, and then get them around some of the other ones who weren't committed and get that feedback back. Because again, we're really in search of the fit, and certainly, we're competitive about who we bring in and everything and rankings, all those type of things. But really, at the end of the day, it's about the right fit, and we want to have the right guys who want to be here. It's not about just coming, and if they don't get on the field, they want to go transfer out or enter the portal. We want guys who want to be Buckeyes and understand what it means to be a Buckeye, because the sustaining of that through the development process is how you sustain a program, and something we're very focused on.
All righty, and last question to Tim May. Tim from Letterman Row. Tim, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mike. Ryan, number one is Master Teague the third. Is he going to be ready to go, do you think? And then number two, how would you define a great home field crowd, night crowd? What can it bring most of all?
Yeah, to me, in this game especially, it can bring a huge advantage for us. And so, I'm asking Buckeye Nation to be really, really loud when Penn State has the football. And I mean really loud, so that they struggle to communicate, because when they do, that's a huge advantage for our defense, and certainly a big advantage for our defensive ends in their communicating on offense. So when we can do that, like actually the last time Penn State was here, I thought the crowd was unbelievable. And if we can replicate that again, that would be huge for us and for the program. So that's big. And a Master, we're hoping to have them available for this game, but we'll see how today and tomorrow goes.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much for your time. We'll talk to you Saturday night.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks all.